All right, my friends, this is the last live stream before Christmas. We are here to do the 2023 Product of the Year Awards. We got Teo Nikolakis and we got our Shane Lee from Spare Change. Oh, wait a minute. You're not Spare Change anymore. You're just the real Shane Lee.
We're at patreon.com/Shane Lee.
There you go. And Teo and I were going back and forth on the best processor, and we're actually going to do a separate live stream on that after the holidays, Teo, because we have to do some battling there.
We do, and that's going to be an exciting one.
It is for sure. So if you guys haven't looked at audioholics.com yet, we put the article up online. I'm going to share now, and then we'll just kind of scroll through this. And Shane has had experience with a lot of these products too, so it's good to have his input on it. And I know he had a couple of products he did videos on for us that he might want to mention as well. And he's going to do, Shane, you're going to do your own kind of product of the year in a week or two, right?
Yeah, they were doing it next week, I think.
Yeah, so check out Shane's channel as well. But can you guys see my screen okay?
Yep.
Yeah, just fine.
So I just had to put this is the 21-inch woofer from RBH. It's just a masterpiece. This thing is a beast. And that's going to be in one of the products. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Denon AVR A1H. And as you guys know, I'm huge on super receivers. It's been a minute since Denon has, or anyone has produced a real flagship level receiver. And I'm talking about back in the day, like in the 2005s when they had the 5805 and we had the Yamaha RXZ11 and we had the Integra flagships. I mean, these were like hulking receivers. The company's kind of moved away from that giant one box solution and they started doing mid-price or mid-level receivers and favoring more separates because most people, they decided they're going to spend that much. They'd rather have separates, which I understand the argument. But when you get something that's really well tuned and it's all in one chassis and it's got all the latest codecs in it, it's convenient and the performance on it is great. And the A1H is just one of those examples. It's a 15 channel, 15.4. So it has 4 independent subwoofer outputs, 150 watts times 15. Now this module, because it has like a 25-pound transformer, and I think it's got 33,000 microfarad, 2 of those capacitors on it. This thing will do 175 watts a channel, 2 channels driven, and it'll do 70% of its 150 watt rating, which is like 105 watts. Not for 5 channels like most Denons, but for 9 channels driven. So this thing it's the most powerful AVR on the market that I know of right now. And the great thing about it is it has all the immersive surround support. It's got, Atmos, it's got DTSX, it's got Auro 3D. For the 3 people that have, 1 disc from Mondo Dio, you can definitely play it native on this, or you could use the up mixer. But it has 2 different room corrections. It's got Odyssey Pro, Odyssey X PC, and it has direct. Now it has direct live bass control. Yeah. Now, Teo, you have experience with the 8500H. Tell us what you think about that receiver.
Yeah, and I'll even go back a generation. The way that I've been looking at the A1H is I really view it as Denon's endgame strategy. So to me, everything started with the 7200. And once Denon launched the 7200, that really signaled that they were introducing really game-changing technology into their AVRs. And then fast forward up to the 8500, that was a noticeable improvement in sound quality and build quality. I did the unboxing video and I showed you all back in the day the difference in the build quality between the 8500 and the 7200. And this just really ups the ante. What I like about what Denon has done here is with the 8500 HA, they've now taken a baseline where they were in terms of the DAC and the circuitry, the architecture, and they've really brought this up a whole different level, Gene, as you said. This for someone who wants separates and is looking at something like a Marantz AV10, this is really your all-in-one solution. And I view it really as the best AVR under 10K, hands down. It's a beast.
Yeah, I mean, it basically has the same process and architecture as the Marantz AV10, and it's got a very solid amplifier section in it, and it's a great piece. And in fact, Teo, I think we're going to be getting you a sample next year, so you could go and test direct live bass control compared to Odyssey in your system. definitely want to have more data points on that. And Shane, I think, didn't you have an A1H for a while? Didn't you play with that receiver?
Yes, I did. I was going to actually go shoot the review tomorrow, but as some folks know on my channel, I'm going to be looking at houses tomorrow instead. So that's going to be put off probably until Tuesday. But yes, I do have it in my possession. It's hooked up with 4 subwoofers, 2 rhythmic F18s, and also 2 rails that are sitting in the back of the room. So that way we can use the bass control on it. But it's so far so good. It's a pretty beastly AVR. Probably this might even be on my list for top AVR for the year as well.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece. When you see it in person, I mean, I think it weighs like 70 pounds. It's just, it's built like a tank. It really is. So we had to give them product of the year on that.
Yeah, kudos to Denon. I mean, they've really done an amazing job. Really, it's 6 years. And Gene, just a note.
Yeah.
In 2015, when you and I were down in New Orleans, we've said this before, they asked us what engineering things we would like to see in some of their products, and whether they took our comments verbatim or it validated some of their research. They've really listened to some of the comments that we had said about a variety of things. So just got to really.
Well, the one thing they added, they didn't tell me, this is what I love about the brand, is I was testing the Marantz AV10 at night. It was like 2-3 in the morning. I was finishing my test report on the audio precision behind me. And then all of a sudden I saw this advanced feature about LFE routing. I'm like, what the hell is that? Right. I go in there and it has the ability, and there's no other AV receiver on the market that will allow you to route LFE to the main channels while you also have active subwoofers. Now, 95% of people aren't going to use it. This is for the one case or a couple of case scenarios where you have really large full range towers, maybe with powered subs built into them, and you want to route LFE to those plus LFE to your subwoofers as well. You can do that on the AV10. You could do that on the A1H. You could do it on virtually any of their new products. I think that's pretty freaking awesome. And you could control the LFE level, so you don't want to overload your speakers. You know, you could overtax your amps if you have it on full tilt. But the fact that they did something like that and they snuck it in there for me, because I've been begging them for like 15 years. I'm like, please let me do this. Let me have this ability. Typically, you can only do it on like Storm or Trinov kind of processors. You can't do that on an AVR. And I know people always get confused with the main plus LFE, thinking that that's the feature. That's not. That all that does is that copies the bass from the main speakers into the subwoofer channel. It does not route LFE to the mains. But with these products, you can do that if you decide to do that. So that's really cool that they did that. And plus, we kept begging for more multiple subwoofer outputs, and now they've got at least 4 or 5 products in that line that have more than one independent subwoofer output. So independent delay control, independent level control. And now because of these products have the 4 sub outs, we're going to look at, I'm guessing, hopefully, fingers crossed, next year, Dirac Art. That's coming.
Yeah.
That's coming. And that's the pinnacle of room correction. So once we get that, that's going to be a severe or truly game-changing kind of feature to have on these products.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go on to the next one. So I've been testing some receivers, 2-channel receivers, and I actually just recently tested a Cambridge Audio integrated amp, which I liked. It was more of a lifestyle product. 2-channel, has HD. It doesn't have HDMI on it, but there's a crop of receivers coming out that are 2-channel that have HDMI, and the Yamaha's one. It's got an HDMI eARC input. Bench test really well. I have not had a chance to actually post the bench test results yet, but it's got Apple AirPlay. It's got the latest music cast in it. It's got a really high-end DAC. It's got a true 100 watts a channel, both channels driven. It could drive, you know, over 150 or 160 watts at 4 ohms. It's very stable. I like this product. It's got music cast on the front. I mean, it's just, there's so much coolness in this 2-channel receiver. And if you want to put a good music system onto your TV, as opposed to just doing a sound bar, you buy this, you plug your HDMI from your TV into that, plug all your sources into your TV, and now you've got the ability to stream all that audio into this receiver. And now you have real amplification, and you can go and have good sound, high-end DAC on this, and put some real speakers in your room.
Did you measure that thing?
Yeah, I do. I do have a test report. I haven't published it yet, but it actually did. It did really well in mostly everything. There was a couple of things that weren't perfect, but it's not something that's audible. It's more like something you measure on a test bench, but I'm not going to sit there and chase SINAD and say it's not good because it didn't measure 100 and something dB SINAD when it actually has some pretty respectably good measurements. And the thing is, it could run high power long term. A lot of these AVRs, you start hearing things singing on the inside when you're running test tones through them. There was no singing in this one. It was just solid. They had a lot of good resonance control in this product. My only complaint on the 1000 is the volume control is really cheesy. It's like it doesn't have a ball bearing system, so when you turn it, you hear mechanical noise. Whereas the 2000, which I have behind me, has like a work of art. Now that's $4,000, so it's understandable. It's a lot more money, but it's other than the fact that the volume control is just doesn't feel like a very high-end product. Everything else about it is really good.
Typical Yamaha, right?
Yeah, exactly. They put it where it counts. So I'm going to let you talk about the AVM 90, Teo, because you are a huge Anthem. I'm going to call you a fanboy because I'm a Denon fanboy, but you're an Anthem fanboy because you've been dealing with their products for so long and you've had good experiences with them and you know them really well. So this is our best processor of the year, a 15.4 channel processor. I'm going to let you talk about it.
It sounds great. So Gene, as you said, I've owned the AVM 20, the AVM 50, upgraded the 50V, the 60, and the 90. This is hands down Anthem's best measuring and best sounding processor ever. There was a lot of talk when Anthem launched the AVM 60, whether or not they were going to have a successor to the Statement D2V, which was arguably up until the 90, Anthem's best pre-processor ever. And Anthem has just pulled out all the stops here. You have flagship ESS Saber ES9038 Pro. It's a 32-bit 768 kilohertz DAC, and there's a pair of them. So they have two for all 15 channels. Plus, Anthem didn't stop there. You have ES9038Q2M. That's also a 32-bit 768 kilohertz stereo DAC. They have a pair of those, and those are dedicated to the 4 subwoofer outputs. So then you have things like upgraded 6-layer board, upgraded voltage regulators. The op amps are 0.1%, upgraded rather. The precision resistors are 0.1%, et cetera, et cetera. Anthem just really did everything that was would have an audible impact, and it really shows, not to mention the 4 independent subwoofer outs that Arc Genesis will calibrate. So those are also the 2 main differences between the 90 and the 70. So the way that I would characterize, now that I've had the 90 for, I don't know, maybe it's about 8-9 months at this juncture, that this is really the multi-channel processor for that enthusiast who really demands reference 2-channel and multi-channel experience in an immersive processor, hands down. There's a lot of differences if you've been an Anthem owner. So number one, just the chassis is completely streamlined. It really follows what's happened with the STR. The user interface now also requires that you either use the web GUI, which is really great. Anthem's done a fantastic job with their web interface. You have access to all the granular controls through a single web interface. And they also have a newer mobile app that brings some new functionality more on the configuration side. It has been buggy, and they, I believe, have now brought it out of beta, and I believe it's no longer a beta app. But I did have some issues during the review period, and there's some other quirks that I noticed with the Anthem that have really become stable since the end of the summer. But for my money, the AVM 90 is probably out of the box, all inclusive, with the upgraded audio circuitry, the 4 subwoofer outputs, and the new version of Arc Genesis, probably the best pre-pro on the market. And just one final comment is Arc Genesis now has 2 important updates that I think we need to know about. Number one, they've always had quick measure that allows you to see in real time what the measurement of a speaker or subwoofer is, so you can really try to get the best placement prior to doing an ARC calibration. Now there's a toggle switch in quick measure that once you do an ARC calibration, you can switch it on, and now you can see what ARC is exactly doing on and off with that calibration. The thing you can't do yet is do a summation of all 4 stubs. We talked to
Yeah, in quick measure, yeah.
And hopefully they'll upgrade that. And then the
Yep.
final item that they did, which has been really great, is there's a phase adjustment. So it'll do
Phase alignment tool.
Phase alignment. Thank you.
Yeah.
What happen is once you do an arc measurement, you run phase alignment, and then it'll phase align all the subs that you have in your configuration with the appropriate phase crossover to the mains, and it just does a great job. So it's all good.
That's the one thing, that's the strength I think about Anthem is, and I tell this because I do the consults on the side, and people are like, should I get an Anthem or should I get a Denon Marantz? Basically asking, should they use Arc Genesis? Should they use Dirac or Odyssey? The thing about Arc Genesis is I think out of all the room correction systems, it's the easiest one to get sounding good out of the box. Like with the least amount of fuss, it does the least amount of damage. At least that's been my experience because I have an 1140 in my bedroom system. Dirac, I've had kind of mixed results with so far because I think it's so new on the Marantz that it needs a little bit more work to get that going the way I hope it's going to be when I test out Dirac Live bass control. But Odyssey is incredible if you have the PC version and if you have the time to sit there and go back and make the adjustments, maybe add some PEQ filters. I've shown this in the live stream the other night when I had Phil Jones on. If you look at my measurements in my family room system on the AV10, that's textbook. Those are my Pearlison S7Ts with my subs integrated left and right speaker. That's partly is because of Odyssey, mostly because it's incredible speakers. The linearity of the speakers is impeccable. You don't need a lot of room correction above, a couple of 100 hertz. But the fact that I was able to align my subwoofers and my main speakers so well and get rid of the modal problems, and this is across, when I measure across all my listening seats, I get consistent results. That's good. That's good room setup. That's good room EQ. So if you have the time to fiddle, then Odyssey, and Odyssey especially, because you could fiddle with it more than you can with Dirac. That's the way to go if you're really into that. But if you want something that sounds good out of the box, the Anthem does a really good job. You could adjust the target curve. You could raise the bass level. You could put a little tilt in the treble. The interface is amazing on it. It really is.
It just does the right work. And I think there's one thing that when we're looking at processors, everybody raises is everybody goes to room correction first. Like I like Dirac or I like Arc or I like Odyssey. I actually don't look at processors that way. I look at the audio circuitry first, and then I look at what the room correction technology is after that. And on top of that, I've just always found that the audio circuitry makes a big difference. And again, I run both Denon and Anthem in 2 different setups, and I'm very, very familiar. And I love the new Odyssey Multi QX. I've been using it now for since it was launched. It's a very good and very competent product, but Anthem's pulled out all the stops with the audio circuitry, and it shows. Now, I'll just say this. Every time I'm playing something on the Anthem on the Salon 2s, I walk into the room. It's magic. It really is. Yeah. It's nothing more to say than that.
Thanks, Optimus Vader. Gave us a super chat for $4.99. Merry Christmas to you, my friend. It's always great to see you on our live streams participating here. So we'll go on. Basically, it was a toss between the AVM90 and the AV10, the Marantz AV10. I really like this processor a lot because it has some advantages that the AVM90 does not. Like, for example, the LFE routing. It has all the streaming options built into it. It's got independent HDMI outputs. So there's a host of things that the AV10 has advantages over the Anthem. But these are 2 of the best processors on the market. The only way you're going to better these processors is to spend 3 to 4 times the amount to get like a Storm Audio or the Trinov. The Trinov keeps getting more expensive. I think the Trinov, how much is the Trinov now, Shane? It's like 24 grand for the 16 channel.
Yeah, 19.5 and then 42,000 for the 32.
Yeah, so unless you're going beyond 15 channels, save your money and get either the AVM90 or the AV10. That's the bottom line. Yeah. And the cool thing, like Taya, one advantage, the reason why the Anthem kind of nudged out the win here is right now it's on sale. If you go to our channel partner Audio Advice, the AVM90 is like $6,370. you don't have to pay a separate licensing fee for Arc Genesis. It's already built in. Whereas the AB10, you got to pay, I think, $200 for the Odyssey PC and up to about $500 or $600 for the Dirac live bass control. So there's other fees involved. So you're going to be spending over $1,000 more for the AB10 if you decide to go that route and you want the room correction systems in it.
Agreed.
So yeah, the AB10 gets the honorable mention. I did bench tests on it. It measured impeccably well. You guys could check that out. And then, so I'm still a big look. I know there's people that think optical disc are dead. I think Shane, you had a little live stream the other day that, pro Kaleidoscape, and I would love to have a Kaleidoscape one day, but I still listen to physical disc. I love my SACD collection. I've got probably 200 or so, and the Marantz Model 30N. Not only does it measure well, it's built like a tank. It's built like the old school kind of SACD or CD players, like the old Sony S7000 back in the day. But it also has the HEOS music management system in it, and it's got a really good preamp built into it. So technically, you could plug this into an amplifier and not even have a preamp, and you could just run all your sources into it. You can basically have a 2-box solution and have a really kick-ass 2-channel system with this device. So the only downside on the Model 30N is it doesn't have balanced outputs. To me, it's not a game changer. It's not a showstopper because the analog single-ended outputs measured really well. The noise floor was really low. The SNR was great. The distortion was great. So it's just a solid piece. If you guys are into SACD and you want to play your CD collection, definitely check it out. And then
what kind of collection?
What's
see
that?
what? What'd you say? See
SACD. Why? What did I say?
I've never heard of SACD.
You've never heard of SACD
or a CD? What's
that? He's trolling. He's trolling.
Yeah, he's gray hairing us, Gene, is what he's doing. That's what he's doing.
Teo, I'm going to let you talk about the Cambridge Audio Network streamer. This is I forgot to put the price on it. I think it's $499.
$499.
Yeah.
This is for bang for the buck. I will tell you, this is the streamer to get. I love Cambridge Audio products. I've been using them for many years. I use the CXN V2, which is their larger. It's a 19-inch form factor, and it comes with a screen. What Cambridge has pretty much done is they said, we're going to take the best of the CXN V2 and we're going to bring it in at a cheaper price point. So my recollection is it has the same DACs, it has the same functionality and features, and there's 2 models here. There's the 10 and the model above it. I don't remember. It's $100 more. The only difference is that one is in a 19-inch rack mount form factor, and this one is a slightly smaller form factor. That's it. And what you get here is you get full room. It's a full Roon endpoint. It's a Roon ready endpoint. So it does high res Roon RAT protocol. It's Chromecast on board. It has Apple AirPlay 2. It has internet radio. This is the perfect streamer to add to whatever processor or AVR you might have. And it's only $500. Yes, it doesn't have a screen, but they have a very competent mobile app, and pair that with if you're a Roon user like I am, and that's it. Now, what I will say on the downside is I personally don't like the Cambridge Audio DACs. So if memory serves correct, and somebody can check me on this one, I think it's the Wolfson DACs. They show their age, and if you do put these into a higher end AVR or pre-pro, you hear the difference. So what I do in products like this is I just take either their Toslink or their SPDIF coax digital out. I put it into the processor like an AVM 90 or a Denon that has a better DAC, and I let it do all the decoding, and it's a done deal. So clearly product of the year, great value, great price point, and it just does everything.
Yeah, and I want to throw that comment out there too. For people that are buying a product like an AVM 90 or an AV10, you already have a state-of-the-art DAC. I get so many people that I give consults to. They own a product like this, then they go and buy a separate DAC. They're like, I'm trying to get my DAC to integrate with this, but I'm not happy. You don't need a separate DAC. In fact, that could be to your detriment, because if you use a separate DAC, 9 times out of 10, they're not as good as the DACs that are in your really high-end processor. And then if you're using the analog outputs, plugging it into your processor, then up mixing with the Dolby Surround up mixer, you've lost fidelity because now you're using a mediocre or a semi-decent analog to digital converter and then processing that for the Dolby Surround Up mixer. Always send digital sources into your AV processor when you can, unless you're doing turntables and you're spinning records or whatever. But yeah, don't do a separate DAC when you have a product like an AV10 or an AVM90.
So you didn't hear a difference with that, the Blackmagic 2.0, Teo? Or it negatively affected?
The Blackmagic, I'm blanking.
Isn't that what the Blackmagic 2.0? Is that what it's called? The Cambridge Black DAC or whatever?
Yeah, so they use the Wolfson DACs. If I remember in the Cambridge Audio, at least that's what they do in the CXN V2. It is not as good at all. It was not as good as the DACs that were in the AKM and the AVM 60, and clearly inferior to the AVM 90. So anytime I'm using an external DAC at this point, if it's usually at a downgrade to where my pre-pros or my AVRs are. So I'll just use the digital. I let that do it. And that way I also don't have to do an analog to digital to analog reconversion if I want to do room correction. Yeah. I think that's where a lot of enthusiasts get confused, because they said, oh, there's a great DAC. And Gene, to your point, why do that? Just put the digital, use the great DACs that are already in there and take advantage of it and be done with it.
Yep. So let's get on to speakers next. This is no small subwoofer. I'm, 5'11" and a half. And
guys, that's a 10-inch subwoofer. Just, you know how big Gene is.
Gene. That's what we did, right?
Yeah, I miniaturized. So this is the new RBH. Geez, their model numbers kill me. It's the unrivaled 21 SFR with a 21-inch carbon fiber driver with a 4-inch voice coil, 38 millimeter X-Max. This is no PA speaker. So you get some of these big 21-inch drivers that use like the pleated cones. They don't have a very long throw, commercial drivers. This is not that. This thing has real throw, similar to like what JTR uses with their 18. So this thing is a beast. In fact, we had to redo our Bassaholic room size rating. So now we have a Maximus rating because this thing has so much output below 30 hertz. I mean, in my room, I'm getting flat response down to about 8 hertz, but my microphone's not very accurate. If everybody that's using a UMic 1 or a UMM6, they're not very accurate below 20 hertz. I hate to tell you that. The noise floor on them is too high. Right. So it's difficult to measure unless you have a really good microphone. But you can feel the infrasonics of the sub. Now, Teo, you experienced my system. You came over my house.
Yes, I did. So I have experienced Gene's theater system, and I've experienced this sub. It is freaking fantastic. So that's all I can say. So, Gene, this was made to power the Coliseum. So this is Maximus, and this was made for that. A couple of things that I will say is it is very, very difficult to describe unless you've heard this sub in person, how clean it is. It's not just about the bass output. It's really about its linearity, its low group delay, and you really hear a seamless integration with your RBHs in that room. There was absolutely no indication whatsoever that you had separate subs at all. It was fantastic.
That's the real magic, when you can get all your subs to integrate with your mains and it doesn't sound like I call it a virtualized sub because you can't tell where the bass is coming from, right? It's just kind of there, almost maybe in front of you in the center, kind of. I don't know. It just sounds fluid. It sounds natural. And yeah, to your point, the group delay on the sub is incredible because it's sealed. Now, I want to also caution people when they look to buy in products based on specs or measurements, and you look at the CEA 2010 numbers, which are really good on the sub, it's at a disadvantage to ported subs for those kind of measurements, because when you take a sealed sub like this, which doesn't have a high pass filter in it, so it's a second order roll off as opposed to a vented box that's fourth order, you get a lot more room gain on a sealed sub. So when you have a giant box with a giant driver and a giant X-Max on it, you can get this single digit bass response that you just can't get with a ported sub. And there's no port chuffing or any of that stuff. And the group delay is really low. As you noticed, it was a very musical experience.
Yeah, no, agreed. And by the way, Gene, they're saying that is for divorce papers. The great thing is, because of its large size, it doubles as a coffee table now. So it is the perfect solution for anybody who wants to bring a 21-inch RBH sub into their environment.
I agree. I mean, I'm going to put something. I might put my Star Wars stuff on there. I've got an R2D2 that would fit. I've got a bunch of stuff, and the thing is mass loaded. It's got what's called GADS, which is granular acoustic dampening system. And this subwoofer, when it's fully loaded, when it's double baffled, it's like 370 pounds, so it's not moving. And they had to do that because if they didn't reinforce it, the subwoofer would walk away because of the motor force. So it's crazy. It's not cheap. It's 12 grand with the 4 kilowatt amplifier. It's not cheap. And I know people are going to say, well, I could, for that price, I could get 2 of XYZ or whatever. But yeah, you could, or you could get 2 of these and really rock the house. So I wanted to include an honorable mention because we're huge Perlisten fans. Teo, you did a Perlisten D212S review with 4 of them in your reference room. Talk about that experience.
So see the smile on my face? I absolutely love these subs. These are just amazing. So Shane got to experience them as well. Yes, and when he was at the house here, and we got to listen to them on the AVM 90. The thing that is so hard to describe, and as I've read some of the comments for folks who commented on the YouTube review, once they've purchased them, they reiterate exactly that point. It is impossible to describe just how great this sub is. It is detailed, it's articulate, it's super fast, and it's the first sub that I've had in my reference setup that mates perfectly with my Rebel Ultima 2 salons. So a couple of things is this isn't just about a high performance, extremely well measuring sub. There is some incredible technology behind this. And I'm working with, Gene, you know this, I'm working with Perlisten now. We're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive on the app. But once you go into the Perlisten app, you have 3 separate 10-band PEQs that you can apply. So that's 30 PEQ filters that you can apply, and you can turn them either individually on and off, or you can turn any one of the 3 sets of 10 on and off to integrate right in. You can do phase adjustment. You can do all the other things to really fine tune this in. Obviously XLR, it has RCA inputs. There's just so
Does it apply the PEQ to all 4 subs at the same time, or is it individual?
You can do group on volume, and you can optionally copy PEQ from one sub to another, which is fantastic. So it saves you a ton of time. It's just such a well thought out product. And you
it's
know,
another product that's
other brands, but
it's another sub that's sealed, right? So you get that advantage of the room gain on it. And someone's asking here, should I 4 Perlisten or 1 RBH? I would definitely 100% say 4 Perlisten if that's your choice. If you're going to go with 1 super sub versus 4 incredibly good smaller subs, go with the 4 because you get better modal control. But the point of the RBH isn't for that. The point of the RBH is for infrasonic. I already have 4 subs in my room, but below 20 hertz, I wanted to get that extra boost, and that's what the 21 SFR is for.
It is. So I would have loved to have had the D215s in my room.
They're huge.
But yeah, that was the thing. This was really the perfect compromise. So if you want to stay married, you want to have great bass and great music, this is your go-to.
So I want to hear from Shane, because I've heard the model below this, a couple of models below, the R210S.
R210S, yeah, that's gonna in the review that I did for you guys. I'm gonna put it right there with the XR13. It's a fairly smallish, the Paradigm XR13. It's a fairly smallish subwoofer, but it belts out like it's like a 15 at least. Not quite like the D215. I might have exaggerated in the review, but at least in my space, it gave me a just amazing sense of depth just from these 2 little boxes, almost like it was a pair of D250 or D15s rather. Plus all the features that you get on the D212, everything is trickled down from the top model all the way down to the little small ones. So you get all the PQ filters, you get the touchscreen display and all that good stuff, the build quality, and super musical. I mean, I had this in my 2 channels set up. I had it with the Rotel system along with the R5Ts, just a perfect pairing, quick, tight, just like other subwoofer makers tend to lead you to believe that you don't need DSP for quick tight bass, but this
Yeah.
100% is amazing sounding subs. All of them. I mean, from the top all the way down to the bottom for sure.
And they don't misbehave, right? So you drive subs pretty hard. I mean,
I've never bottomed out.
You've made helicopter sounds with bigger subs, but you didn't have that with this.
Yes, I have. I have nearly destroyed personal subs that I've paid for. Whereas any one of these per listen subs, man, I drive these hard. You guys know, if you want to really kind of blow up your sub, put in Edge of Tomorrow, that first 20 seconds. If you can blow up your sub, then you're doing a good job. If your sub survives, then it's doing a good job.
Right. No, Perlison's a great brand. I can't wait to see. Like, I want to check out their in-ceiling speakers. I'm gonna maybe swap out my wides. I have RBH wides in my theater room. I'm very intrigued by their new in-ceiling speakers. I might be swapping those next year. So for you budget shoppers, the review is not up yet, but James Larson's like, you better put this in the product of the year for $300, including shipping. This is a loss leader. They're definitely selling the sub and losing money on it. It performs well above its price class. That's all I'm going to say. The review will probably drop after Christmas, but $300 is kind of scary that you could get a 15-inch sub that measures as good as this one does, and it actually sounds pretty decent. Monoprice, I don't think this is called the Monolith series. It's just Monoprice. Monoprice does a good job of giving you a lot of bang for buck. Their Encore speakers are a good speaker. They're not a per listen speaker, but they're a good speaker. And for the money, I mean, I think you could get some of those Encore speakers for like $120 each. That's a great starter system for someone that's in a dorm or someone that has a second room or it's just someone that's on a budget. And I tested their budget amplifiers, their 2-channel amplifier. I think it's on sale now for under $300. That's a lot of performance for the money. So we got to give a shout out to Monoprice. They've been really crushing it and giving you the amount of performance they're giving you for the price that they're giving you.
Yeah, Gene, I've been a huge fan of the Monoprice gear. I have some of their amps as well. In high end, anything under $500 for a sub was considered a junk sub. Doesn't matter. What they have done with this sub and some of their other products have really been amazing contributions to the hobby. So they've made great gear that's affordable, that delivers tremendous value, and really a lot of audio satisfaction. So a big shout out. And I know, Hobie and some of the other folks over there at Monoprice have really wanted to make a difference, and they've had a lot of success. So it's great.
Yep. We got another super chat here from High Finest. With a ported set of bed layers and sealed subs, how do we set the crossover and the delays properly in multi-Q X? Mains, ASE, I guess those are Bowers and Wilkins series bed layers.
Yep.
So it's a challenge to mix ported speakers with sealed subs. You really got to know what you're doing, and most room correction systems won't get it right. And that's why, like, Dirac Live Bass Control automatically puts a high pass filter on the mains regardless. Odyssey does not. The best advice I could give you is, if you don't have the ability to use REW and do measurements in your room, bass manage all your speakers, because you're trying to mix and match 2 different bass alignments between the speakers and the subs, and you're probably going to get cancellations at or below the tuning frequency of your speakers. It's very tricky to get that right, and I use something called wavelets, a spectrogram in REW to get that alignment right. And sometimes I have to actually put a high pass filter on the sealed subwoofer to make it look more like a ported sub for it to get that better blend. So in in your case, I would tell you, I know they're great speakers that you got, and they're towers. I would probably bass manage them. Otherwise, you're gonna have to swap your subs out if you want things to integrate better. So
is that something that he could audibly tell?
Oh yeah. I mean, when I set up the Perlison S7Ts, and I have JL Audio in-wall subs, as soon as when I turned them on, I lost all the depth. I'm like, oh man, this sucks. And I kind of figured that would happen. I was going to seal those speakers and still run them large, because that's another thing you could do, is you could still run those speakers large and seal them. You could try that, but you are going to lose efficiency in the bass output of the speaker when you do that. That's like when you have a tower speaker and you have like 3 ports on it. You typically want to leave, a couple of those ports open, because if you seal 2 of the ports and leave 1 open, you'll get more extension, but you'll trade off a lot of bass output. Like I tried to do that with my Revels, and I lost like almost 10 dB of bass output when I did that. So I don't recommend doing that. Probably you could try sealing them first, run them large, but in most likelihood, I would probably run them small, bass manage them. And assuming you have good subs, I hope you have really good sealed subs, because you've got great speakers. You might want to upgrade your subs. That might be another option for you.
Links down below in the video description.
Yes, for sure. So the next one, bookshelf speaker, James Larson. I wish he was here. I don't know why he didn't show up, but maybe he didn't get the memo. He really liked the PSB Synchrony B600s. This is a Canadian speaker company. They're a no-nonsense company. They make good quality product that's based on NRC research that was done back in the day with Floyd Toole, Dr. Floyd Toole, and Sean Olive. They've been making some pretty good products. I know a lot of people don't talk about PSB, but Teo, have you had any experience? Shane, have you had any experience with PSB speakers?
I think I reviewed those. I'm pretty sure I did.
You've reviewed these?
I think so. PSB.
Oh, okay.
I did their. Yeah, I did review those, the B600s and then the PWMs. Yeah, I did it in a home theater setup.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's been a while. I really don't remember what it sounded like, to be honest with you.
You can check out the review. It's linked up in the article. But anyways, they're built well. They're a no-nonsense speaker, and they're for a high. They're not cheap. They're $2,800 a pair. But
they actually come built in with isoacoustics.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the feeder isoacoustics in those.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, if you're looking for a really high performance bookshelf speaker that's built well and sounds good, there's our pick.
Yeah.
So we have a review of the Kanto Auras. It's not public yet, but it's there, and these are ridiculously good. They're actually a DSP powered speaker. It's not just a powered speaker. These actually have DSP processing, so there's no analog crossover in them. And I heard these at Audioholics Live. Shane, I think you were there because we did a video, I think. Did you hear these speakers?
No, I didn't hear those.
Oh,
nope.
They were impressive. So I've got a couple of pairs of Kanto speakers. I got some of their custom finished ones and the red ones. My wife has the ones that have like a 4-inch driver. I actually think these are better because these have the DSP processing in them, and they sound so expansive and clean and right and just neutral. They do need a sub if you want to play full range, because I think it's like a 3-inch driver. But for $350, they sound better than they should. Teo, we got to get you some Kantos.
It'd be great. It is so hard to get good desktop speakers that perform really well that you can substitute. And what I've noticed, not just with what you've got here with Kanto and some of the other products that we've talked about, and even JBL, this is really the next phase of what companies are trying to do with some of these monitors, is make them all DSP based active speakers. And it really promises to be a great game changer for the future of audio in this segment.
Oh, I agree. I think active speakers are the future, and you're going to see more and more of that. In fact, we're reviewing a punch for 2024, so you're going to definitely see more of that. Kanto does have an 8-inch sub. I actually have it right below me on my Kantos. It's not an output killer. It's not an extension thing, but it gives enough bass for a music system, that a desktop system. It's small. It's satisfying. I think the sub is like $200 or $300, the sub 8. So it's a good system. And when you plug a subwoofer into those Kantos, it automatically puts a high pass on them. So I think that's a cool feature that they did that.
Yep.
So Don Dunn had these speakers, the RBH61AX. These are active. These have, I think, the Marani DSP in them, and a really good Class D amp. 200 watts per driver, so it's 400 watts total per speaker. These things rip, and they sound so clean and so good, just like all RBH active stuff that we've been talking about, since they started doing these. Has the AMT tweeter on them. The only downside on them is they're a little pedestrian looking. They're not posh, if you will. They're just a rectangular box. But I kind of like the look of it. I mean, I like the driver look. I like seeing that phase plug. That's a real phase plug. That's not like a cone that's attached to the, a dust cap attached to the cone. That's actually a full phase plug, and that's used for heat dissipation, and also it reduces on-axis beam and reduces the cone mass, so that driver could play higher frequencies and you can get better integration with the tweeter. And this is all DSP driven. There's no analog crossovers in this, so it's fully tuned, and it comes with different tuning settings. So if you're listening to it on a desktop, you select desktop. You're listening to it on a pair of stands in a room. There's like a bunch of different DSP settings depending on how you listen to the speaker.
And that makes such a difference because you don't have the advantage of any room correction with these smaller desktop products. And the fact that you have that built in, again, it just increases the performance and the value of the product.
Right. So someone's saying that Paralisten doesn't have enough dynamics. That's crazy, because Paralisten can play 120 dB clean. They are very dynamic speakers. You must be under amping them. That's the only thing I can think of, because that's the biggest advantage of Paralisten speakers is they're dynamic.
Well, I think he had a problem with them being flat. Like he said, the special editions were a little too flat, meaning like they didn't have any flavor to them, like say a Focal.
Well, that is true. I mean, because they're probably the most neutral speaker we've ever measured and probably I've ever listened to. And what I did with mine was I put a little tilt in the treble response. And Teo, you heard the difference between Odyssey on and off. And I didn't use PEQs above 5 kilohertz. I used shelving filters, and I added about 2 dB of boost and treble, and it made a world of difference. And then they come alive. So that's just my personal taste. I can understand people saying they listen to that speaker and it sounds flat, because most people are not used to listening to truly neutral speakers. These are truly neutral speakers. And if you prefer, you could adjust that. You have that ability, especially if you have a room correction system like that.
Yeah.
So now we're going to move to Teo. This is you. I love what Shane Lee said about you. You look like a 50-year-old 5-year-old.
There you go. Well, we had to do a quick screen capture from the video that nobody's seen yet for this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good one, isn't it?
The Focal Scalia Utopia Evo. These are 53 grand a pair.
And they're worth every penny. Let me tell you.
Are they really that good?
Holy crud. So just to give everybody a little background, because you haven't seen the full review yet, the video review is all set. It's done. It's just a matter of scheduling it, putting it live. This was part of a $130,000 review setup that I had the unique opportunity to do here for a couple of months. Unfortunately, they're now gone and I miss them. But what I had is I had the Focal Scalia Utopias that were obviously the left and right channel. Then I had the Focal Color Evo for the center channel, and that's a $20,000 center channel. Then I had the Focal Astral, their 16-channel processor, which is based on the Storm audio platform and has upgraded circuitry. And pair that with the RBH subs, the Focal IW LCR for surrounds, and magic, just absolute magic. So a couple of things. I had 3 separate listening sessions with friends over. And as you'll see in the video review, these are guys who have vast experience in audio. So it's your flavors of B&W, Paradigm, Definitive Technology, and other brands, and
Rebel.
Had them over to listen to the Focals. And it was by far the single best experience that they've had with audio. And the point of this review was the following: is I think that our audience is not just the 2-channel audiophile. It's those folks who love music, love 2-channel, but also want that in either a multi-channel Dolby Atmos environment, as well as being able to say, gee, can I use that for movies? And the Focals delivered in spades. They sounded so good. And let me qualify what that means. B, the Focals have no sound to the box. There is no cabinet sound whatsoever in these speakers. Each driver is housed in its own separate enclosure. They use passive time alignment in the way that it's designed. It has, my opinion, probably one of the best tweeters on the market today.
The Beryllium one, right?
Oh my God. But so then this is an important point. Focal has Beryllium drivers across many lines. However, For the Utopias, this is an infinite acoustically loaded 2 tweeter. It's a 1.1 inch inverted beryllium dome tweeter that is unique only to the Utopia line, and it is beautiful. And then you couple that with their glass composite drivers for the mid-range. They have a special magnet for the mid-range driver that's oversized, and then for the bass driver, and it's just magic. The Scalas were also really well sized to my room here, so this space is probably about a 27 by 16, 17 inch wide, and it was just a perfect fit. Bass was taut, tight, dynamic, and that was the other difference that I noticed, Gene, as we talked about offline, between the Revels and the Focals. The Focals were just so much more dynamic. And what Focal did is they supplied me with name monoblock amps for all 3 of the front channels.
Those big ones?
No, it was the 175 watt. That was it that was driving these things. I mean, it was just fantastic.
Here's why. The Salon 2 is a great speaker, but it's like 13, 14 years old, and it has an incredibly complex crossover network, and it's like a 5-way design. So the sensitivity on that speaker is like 86 dB, right? So I'm guessing, I didn't look at the specs on the Focal, but that's probably in the 90s, maybe 91 dB. It's a much easier load to drive, higher sensitivity. There's something to be said about when you have a well-designed high sensitivity speaker, it has a different sound to it. It really does. There's advantages to having higher sensitivity other than the fact that it'll play louder, more effortlessly. So there's a huge advantage in dynamics of that speaker over the Salon 2 for sure.
Yeah, no question about it. And just to the comment is, I'm always of the opinion that you get once in a lifetime to have an incredible experience. My best audio experience ever was at Lyric Audio in New York City, where Michael K took me in the back room, and I had a chance to listen to the audio research with some Baby Grands was the name of the speaker. This in this environment, to be able to have it for a couple of months was really special. So kudos to Focal, great speaker. If you can afford it and this is part of your setup, give it a go.
Awesome. You know, when I reviewed the Utopia, the Diablos, the little baby ones, and I put them up against the R5Ts. And there's this part in this Taylor Swift song. I know Gene loves Taylor Swift.
Taylor's a Swiftie too. Taylor's a Swiftie.
It's on her new album. It's one of the last songs. There's a part where there's a little bit of feedback you can hear in her mic. I don't think of what song and tell you later, Teo. But there's a little thing that towards the end of the song is like little crackles in the mic you can hear. Maybe like it's her cell phone was next to the mic or something like that. And I was like, what is? I was like, my phone is messing with my amps or something. What is that? And then I got closer to the tweeter. I was like, oh shoot! I was like, that's the tweeters, man. That's a speaker. And I switched over to the Perlissons. I was like, man, that is just not there. I was like, I just can't hear it, man. So it's like, I think this is part where that guy was saying like they're just not dynamic enough. I mean, like the Perlissons are so neutral, maybe to a fault sometimes, or maybe I just really like bright speakers. Because this definitely does have it. Just has this air and depth to the Beryllium tweeter on the Focals. They're just so crisp, and I'm gonna say near what I really like about electrostats. I get with like a pair of really good Focal speakers that was missing with the Perlissons.
There's no doubt the Focal speakers tend to be more of a forward kind of sound, more bitey sound to it than the Perlissons, more laid back. And that's why you can't just look at a speaker's measurements and say, I'm going to buy the speaker because it got good CTA 2034 measurements. That's just a starting reference, my friend. You can make a speaker measure really well, and then it won't sound good. So there's just you got to do listening tests. You got to be experienced in the speaker. The aesthetic actually matters because how it looks in the room, you're going to perceive that speaker differently. We're not listening in blindfolds, right? So if the speaker's butt ugly, it's gonna diminish your listening experience. That's just how life works. We're very visual creatures, and Focal cabinetry is like off the charts.
It's
It really,
beautiful. And what do we say?
Yeah.
Measurements are whether or not you want to have a date. Listening is whether you want to marry it. Like that's the way it works. Okay.
I like that. Let's move on because it is getting late. So, all right. So the best mid-price speaker. We've reviewed a bunch of speakers this year, and a lot of them could have made this cut. I really personally like the Martin Logan XT F100s. Now, I've had experience with the Motion 60s, the predecessor. I thought they were decent speakers, but I heard a lot of cabinet resonance in them. I thought they had potential and they could have been better. But when I heard the F100s at Audio Advice, I just fell in love. Like the speakers literally disappeared to me. I mean, we were listening on STR separates and they just put on some great 2-channel music and it felt like there was sound to the sidewalls. I mean, everything was so expansive, but the bass was awesome. And part of the reason why the bass was so good on these speakers is it's got 3 drivers on it. This one has 3 6.5s, I think. And they're really close to the floor. And the port is on the bottom as well. And I like that approach because it eliminates ground bounce, or it actually reduces ground bounce. You're always going to have a ground bounce problem where the distance between the drivers and the floor creates a cancellation null. And you can measure that at the listening position. This reduces that because they're really close to the floor, almost like a subwoofer. So there's some advantages to a speaker like this that doesn't show up in an anechoic measurement, but in a real room, it gives you benefit. And in fact, Matthew Pose measured these speakers. They measure good. They don't measure great. They don't measure as good as a Perlisten. They have some warts. But he put them up against his S7Cs, which are the S7T equivalent, but an in-wall. And he said it was really close. Like it was, this was a pretty neutral speaker, even though it has a little bit of a tilt into high frequencies. It wasn't bright.
Yep.
Now, you can't say that about the entire line. Like their bookshelf speakers are brighter than their towers. But I really think out of the entire Motion XT line, the F100s are the sweet spot. I know the F200's bigger. It's got the 8-inch drivers, but these are $4,500 a pair. They're gorgeous. They come with outriggers on them and nice feed on them. They're just a great sounding speaker. The high sensitivity, 92 dB. They play loud and they've got great bass response. So if you're just setting up a 2-channel system, you don't need a subwoofer. These will play everything you need to play and you'll get really good music enjoyment out of them. I don't know if Shane, have you heard those?
I have. Yeah. They do lean a little bright, but they share some. I did like them better than the last Motion series, the Motion 40s or 60s.
Yeah.
Lots of bass for the F200s I reviewed, and these things bump. They I don't think the mid range was quite as good as the Perlistens were, but they did have a little bit more flavor on the top end than the Perlistens did as well. Just a great all-around speaker, especially for the price. And those feet are super cool. I mean, those are like the best feet. Like
it's
ever.
just it's a polished product.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to put an honorable mention. This is a speaker company. It's a small operation. Dennis Murphy. He's been in the industry for a long time. In fact, he was part of the FTC on amplifier measurement standards years ago. And he has his own little speaker company. And James Larson's a big fan. He's been reviewing their products for a while. We did the BMR towers, and then these are the HT towers. So the advantage of these is they're higher sensitivity, but they don't have as much bass response. So you really want to run these with a pair of subwoofers. So these are much more dynamic than the BMR towers, but like I said, they don't have as much bass response. But these are really incredibly good measuring speakers. If you buy speakers based on measurements, you're going to want to buy these. Because there's no warts on these. These give you really incredibly good measurements and they sound good. James was a huge fan. He's like, you got to put those in there. So we put them in there. Philharmonic audio. They've got really good bookshelf speakers as well. So definitely give the small guy a chance if you can. You don't always have to buy from the big brands if you want to set up a 2-channel system. I like owning stuff that other people don't own. So if I was setting up a 2-channel system, I'd probably do this with a pair of subs and I'd be really happy.
They look a little RBH-esque.
They do. Yeah, they have an MTM. They have kind of the same shape, at least but the corners are at least radius.
Yeah, cabinets look fancier.
Yeah, that's a really good driver. I think that's the purified driver. So if you look at the sum of the drivers that are in this box, the guy's not making any money. I mean, if he's making money, he's making not much because the amount of driver tech he put in here, those purified bass drivers are expensive and they're really good. So he put all of the budget into the quality of the parts internally. Teo, I'm going to let you talk about the projector of the year.
Yeah.
And you got this projector in. You set it up. I think Dream Media hooked you up with it.
And
Talk
it's been
about it.
fantastic. And Shane can jump in. I don't know, Shane, do you have the NZ8 or the NZ9?
I got the same. I got the 8.
You got the same one. So
Same one, yeah.
he can
Same one.
jump in as well. But just at a high level, there's 3 laser projectors with the blue Essent that JVC has in this lineup. So there's the NZ7, NZ8, and the NZ9. This is the middle one, and I like to call it the Goldilocks. So what it does is it has 2400 lumens output, has 65 millimeter all glass lens. It's a 50-pound monster, 2 HDMI, 2.1 inputs, and at full 48 gigabits per second bandwidth. And it has the their newest and best 8K upscaling. So it has 2 4K panels, and in the past, what they would have is they would have the panels alternate in 2 directions. Now the panels will alternate in 4 directions, basically giving you a true 8K upscaled image. And that was really the first thing that popped out at me was actually the resolution when I turned the projector on. It was really stunning. And then you couple that with the fact that JVC has its own software that does auto calibration out of the box. You can have this guy set up in less than 20 minutes, fully calibrated, and it just looks beautiful. So if you can afford the $26,000, the NZ9 flagship is the projector to get. If you want to save $10,000 and take advantage of their industry-leading tone mapping for HDR images, plus it has HDR10 plus, I could just go on and on. This is just a spectacular projector. So Shane, I don't know if you want to add and what your experience has been.
I concur. Great projector, especially now that they've went away from the lamp-based projector. So there's a little bit more peace of mind that you can crank this thing up to 20,000 hours and not really worry about lamp life dying. And I believe, I don't know if you've done it or not, but they did release that new firmware update.
Yeah, the 3.0, and
Yeah.
I've taken advantage of it. Do you want to speak to it?
Mine's sitting on the floor in the closet over here, so I haven't used it in like 2 months.
The 3.0, let me just jump in. It does a couple of things. Number one, it gives you 100 points of grading of the light output of the laser, which is great. And if you put it at 46, it'll actually turn the fan from high to low. So that's something that some people want. You can do a USB backup, and it also has their next gen of their and it's escaping me for the software update on the image enhancement. So just great product.
Well, I've never messed with the NZ8, but I will tell you, I was at CEDIA a few months back, and I got a demo of the NZ9. No Mad VR, no extra external processing, native 8K content on a 165-inch Studio Tech screen, and I started crying. Like literally, I was verklempt. Talks amongst yourselves. I was speechless, like literally the tears. You could see every little whisker. I mean, the detail, the flowers, just the imagery that they showed. I've never seen an image that good before. And I envy you, Teo, that you have that projector, because I look, I have the Sony 6000, which I think is a great projector as well. Yeah. But the fact is the JVCs have the advantage of the incredible tone mapping. You don't need external processing on them. I know you could get a Mad VR and you might get some better masking options and stuff like that, but out of the box by itself, that is a killer product.
And Gene, just a couple of things. Number one is if you have the Apple TV 4K 3rd generation with HDR10 plus, this supports HDR10 plus, works flawlessly. And the other thing is I've spoken with the JVC, and I'm going to be doing a video on it. They have a tweak to give you better perceived contrast, and especially to give you more details in the highlights. So I'm going to do a special video based on what JVC has given me. So any enthusiast who has a JVC and wants to take advantage of that, I've got that secret sauce coming soon.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, you got a couple more videos coming on this projector, I would
Yep.
imagine.
Plus the Stewart. We're going to have the Stewart film screen G4 1.3 with their new acoustically transparent perforation. So we've got a lot of fun stuff that's going to be coming up. And we're going to have the Stewart paired with the JVC as part of the review. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, last but not least, I had Wade Robson give me his recommendation for budget wireless headphones because he's been reviewing a bunch of headphones last year with the Focal Batiste one, and those are still a great headphone. I think they're about $700 or $800 a pair. But he really liked the PX7 S2s from Bowers and Wilkins, and he liked obviously the PX8s are better, but the PX7s are so close and they're so much more affordable that these are just a product that are worth mentioning as a product of the year, because in their price point, it's hard to beat them. And I don't know if you guys are huge headphone proponents or not. The only time I use over-the-ear headphones is when I'm on an airplane, and that's when I get a chance to test them all. I tested the Focal Batistes. I tested the Mark Levinsons. I have not checked out the PX7 S2s. I think I have a pair somewhere that I haven't even opened yet.
They are great. They just feel so right when you wear
them.
Oh,
you got them.
Oh, yeah. I've had B&W headphones for forever, many models. These things feel so right. And they're a joy to travel with. They have a great balance of so many things in terms of their usability. I could just go on and on, but you put these on and this is a great headphone.
How's the noise canceling on them?
It's solid. Sony is the best overall noise canceling headphone as a total package, and Bose has the best noise cancellation technology in headphones. These are not at that level. They're close, and as a whole package, I love using them. So
we should do a separate live stream on all the different wireless headphones, because I have thoughts about the Mark Levinsons as well as the Focals.
Yep.
I traveled with all of them. There's some things about the Mark Levinsons I don't like. There's some things about the Focals I don't like. I mean, I like all these headphones, but there's pros and cons to them. And you and I should script this and put together a PowerPoint, because you've been doing a lot of headphone testing as well. And we'll get Wade on. Wade's got a lot of experience. And by the way, guys, I just heard from James. He's still suffering with COVID. So that's why he wasn't able to make the live stream. He's been sick for like 2 weeks. It's been going around. I've got some stuff going on myself. It's not a fun time, especially during the holidays. But anyways, I think that wraps up the products of the year. I wanted to show you guys. So we had my wife threw this incredible 50th birthday party for me. Yes, I am 50 years old. And Teo, you killed me when you showed up. You absolutely did not expect that. Am I allowed to show the picture of Don Dunn, or is Haven Smart going to have a problem with that? I don't know. We might have to blur it out.
Don Dunn was a suspect, Don Dunn Jr., right? For the murder mystery.
Yes.
So Little Willie was a suspect.
Little Willie, Don's new nickname. When next time you see Don Dunn, when he's allowed to go on a live stream, call him Little Willie, because that was his name in the murder mystery theater thing we were doing in my party.
I wasn't invited, guys. So I have nothing.
You were invited. You're just too cheap to get a ticket to come down to Florida.
I gotta pay to go to your birthday party, Gene?
Why not? You're rolling over there. You got a Trinov. No, in all seriousness, guys, I just want to take the minute and thank all of our viewers for giving all the support. We're coming on 25 years. On April 18th next year will be 25 years of online publishing. I can't believe it's been that long. Yes, I'm that old. Teo, you've been with me probably at least 10 years.
10 years plus. 10 years.
Wade has been with us, and my cousin Tony Leota has been with us almost since I started.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing some big announcements next year about that. I'm going to probably get 25 companies to host 25 giveaways. What do you guys think about that?
Did you say a 25 cable giveaway?
Yeah, we'll get AudioQuest to give some battery cables, and we'll make sure they ship extra batteries to you guys.
Guys, be prepared for the return of Hugo.
Oh my goodness. Shane still has not accepted Gene's blind cable test challenge down in Florida. He has not. He's afraid to come to Florida.
I told Gene, I said, I'm off for a couple months probably. You can fly me down there. I'll go take the challenge with you.
That might have to happen. Oh, we got another super chat here from Darren. Any recommendations on active powered speakers for home theater, not desktop? Very hard to find good information in this domain. Really depends on your budget, I guess. So like RBH, the ones behind me, those I'm reviewing those. Those will be online next year. The SFTR AX are absolutely fabulous. They're like an SVTR, but in a more compact form factor. They have dual 12s in them in a sealed enclosure. I got bass extension in here down to 6 hertz, and they're fully controllable with the active crossovers and processing and amplification, but they're not cheap. They're like 30 grand a pair. But there are, what's that Italian company? Because we have a pair of speakers that we just finished a review on.
Sonus Faber?
Thank you. Sonus Faber has some active speakers. I don't know if they make a floor stander or not, but the bookshelf one is really good.
If you're doing just 2-channel, look at the JBLs.
Yeah.
The JBLs are fantastic. I think it's the 4305s. They're powered. They're all wireless. They come with Rune built in, all DSP. Plug it in and go. You're done.
Grimani speakers, we forgot to mention that. So Grimani makes really good active speakers. In fact, we need to do more coverage of his products because he does a lot of work in that stuff. I hope it gets more popular because he does make a really high performance. They're really meant to be behind screens, though. They're not really meant to be out in the open. They have a face only a mother could love. Oh, and the Paradigm Founders, so they're partially active. So they have active bass drivers in them. I love those speakers. The Paradigm Founder 120Hs are one of my favorite floor standing speakers, regardless of price. I really love that.
Really?
speaker.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Powered towers?
They just the bottom, the bass on those is epic. And it's just a good sounding speaker. It really is. Yeah. I think
Isn't that their entry level Founder?
No, it's not. It's their flagship Founder.
Oh.
It's got 3/8 in it. It's got a mid with the little shower cap on it, and then the waveguide tweeter. Yeah, that's a really good speaker, guys. So I kind of like that approach too. So you go half active, half passive that way, because if you still want to use your 2-channel amp, if you've got a nice Anthem STR or you got a nice, what the hell's the name of that brand I'm thinking of right now? I'm having a memory fart. Parasound. If you have a nice Parasound amp you don't want to dump, use that and get something with active bass modules. It's the best of both worlds.
I'll have to check that out when I get my place.
Yeah. So I think that's a wrap. It's been over an hour. Guys, if you like this video, please hit the thumb up. Hit the like button. Teo, thanks for contributing. Shane, thanks for being on. Check out Shane Lee's. He's giving. How do you do that? I don't know how to do that.
Gotta give it hearts.
There you go.
There we
check
go.
out check out Shane Lee's Patreon, the real Shane Lee. He needs the money right now. He's trying to buy a house, so let's help him out. Check out his channel. And guys, we've got a lot of stuff planned for next year, so be ready because we got a lot of stuff. Teo is becoming quite a prominent reviewer on YouTube now, right? You've been cranking out videos. I can't even keep up with the videos you're sending me.
Teo, are you reading scripts or are you just coming off this stuff at the top of your head? Like, what are you doing?
It depends. So some of it I've got to do because there's just too much coming across my plate.
Is your neck getting tired from doing this?
You were at my house, was it, right? So what people can't see when I do this thing is I have my whole body turned on the couch. So I'm not really turning my neck.
Because you're like, I was like, Gene, he's been like this in the position for like 15 minutes.
It's crazy. I know. I can't do that with my neck. My neck is fried. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up because I'm not feeling that great right now, and I'm at my limit. So, again, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy New Year. And until next time, my friends,